What's one rule that your school workplace has implemented that absolutely backfired? Work instituted a points system for being late or calling off sick. Accrue too many points and you get written up. Fired if it continues. They doled out the same number of points whether someone was a minute late or called off altogether. And if an absence lasted up to 5 days, it was still only one absence. So anyone who overslept or encountered heavy traffic and was running late would just stay home for the rest of the week. After several months, they decided that being late was only worth half a point. In our office, we're not allowed to have more than 14 consecutive days off. So one guy booked a cruise for a month. Booked off 14 days. Then 1 day back. Then another 14 days off. He called in sick on his 1 day back. A few years ago we weren't allowed to stand in groups bigger than 4 at our school because this old teacher told us it was gang behavior and encouraging gang violence. One day my entire year of like 100 plus people got in a massive group screaming gang gang and throwing gang signs on our school field, so they had to bring every single teacher out to try and split us apart for a straight 20 minutes. Best school day ever. We did a mass hug around the flagpole, then spent 3 days holding any hand of any person you walked by. This was after they told us we could not touch anyone. Any support call lasting longer than 25 minutes must be reported to higher ups for review. i.e. if you have too many, no matter if it's your fault or not, you get a disciplinary review. I implemented the rule of politely hang up on a customer as close to 25 minutes as you can and call them right back. I am sorry, I am experiencing a small issue with my phone. Is it okay if I call you right back? Gotcha. Outgoing calls are not reported or recorded. It's amazing. My old boss tried implementing an incentive scheme for the underperformers while anyone who consistently did well received nothing. 3 of us quit within a month. Because of rumors of a drug problem in the school, the administration decided to drug test students. The media jumped all over that. Violation of our civil rights or something. The initial statement was that anyone who failed the test would be kicked out of school. After the 40th or so kid failed, they changed the policy to mandatory meetings with the counselor. After the 100th kid failed, they hired another counselor. We used to be allowed to stream music etc on our computers. Spotify was an approved program and would come installed on your computer. Someone complained about productivity despite us always doing our work, and so the banned streaming of any kind on our computers. But now everyone just listens on their phone, so you walk around the office and nearly everyone has their phone out now, so it looks even worse when sponsors come into the office. We weren't allowed to be friends with kids in grades above us. But we could be friends with kids in grades below us. That rule didn't last long. That reminds me of a series of kids books about a school that's completely backwards and wacky stupid. I wish I could think of the name. They had a rule that people going up the stairs stay to the right and people going down stay to the left. Pandemonium. My friend worked as a technician at a place that did installation for telecom, sound, cable, pretty much anything tech related really. The techs were paid by work order completion. Each job had a value that got paid out when you finished the work order. The experienced techs could finish more jobs in a day and made some seriously good money. They were motivated to work fast to get more jobs done, but also to do it correctly, because having to go back within a certain time window and fix a problem didn't pay out, so it lost money. Well, some new management came in and decided to change everyone to hourly wages. Their idea to make techs focus on getting the job done right and not rushing it. All the really good techs saw a massive pay cut from it and immediately quit. The rest of the techs suddenly had no reason to finish jobs quickly, since you got paid the same whether you did 2 installs or 10 installs in one day. So everyone just started slacking off. Within a few weeks the orders were backed up so bad install dates were pushed out for a month or more. And when people finally did get their stuff installed, it took all day instead of a couple hours. That one change completely ducked over the company. No cell phones in high school. Security collected them when you walked in, put them in Ziploc bags, and locked them up. They lost like 5 people's phones. No personal conversations. The office would be silent for hours and motivation took a huge nosedive. If the owner heard a personal conversation, he would call the person out and yell at them. God, that owner was a big dick. Glad I got out. I took over managing a group whose previous boss had this rule. Productivity skyrocketed. The part I'm most proud of is the employee I was warned about being lazy and belligerent became one of my best assets. All it took was to treat him with respect. Had a fellow at my old place of work that was promoted to sales manager. Within a few days he drafts up a document which he tries to get all of us to sign, basically stating that we aren't working to our full potential and had to make profits or we would have to work even when we weren't working. AKA taking calls from customers no matter the day or time. This resulted in an almost immediate revolt and about 10 plus people bypassing him directly and going right to the owner. He was demoted then later fired within a week. Whether written inside or outside company time belongs to the company. Me. So if I write and release malware at home, it's the company's problem? The clause was immediately removed. The deputy head of our school banned fidget spinners, and rightly so. In his defense, they were everywhere. On the final day of year 11, someone hacked his school intranet login and edited the bulletin, leaving a notice in his name saying that fidget spinners were now not only unbanned, but mandatory, and that aficionados could come to his office and learn tips and tricks from him. During our general meeting last week, the owner of the company went on a bit of a rant about negative reviews of management on a popular jobs website with a green logo. He demanded that we stop posting negative reviews immediately and shamed anyone in the room who had done so. As you can guess, people doubled down and posted their grievances on the same day as the meeting. I was told this story when I was in the army by a parachute rigger. The workday in the army is 9 o'clock to 4:30. Riggers packing troop shoots had a daily quota of 35 shoots. Once they got good at it, these guys could be done by 2:30. Which is a very nice workday indeed. Well, they got this new captain who decided that since these guys are getting 35 done by 2:30, then obviously making them work until 4:30 would increase output even more. So of course that unit's numbers went way down. And the 35 and you're done for the day was quickly reinstated. Zero tolerance just created a new way to bully. And zero tolerance for fighting did not decrease fights. Those that started the fight were going to get in trouble no matter what. So the consequence didn't matter to them in the first place. All this does is encourage the attack to beat the living shit out of the attacker. Zero tolerance actually made fighting worse at our high school because of this. This actually benefited me because I knew I'd get in trouble as the bullied. So why not go completely upbeat? The bully was so stunned that I fought back that he left me alone afterwards. Totally worth a 3-day in-school suspension. No backpacks in the classroom, which led to hundreds of backpacks in the principal's office one morning. No one gave a duck about that rule. Phones should be stowed away in a box in the front of the classroom. Everyone was like, me. We'll see how it goes. In other words, no. Yeah? Like I'd leave 800 pounds sitting in a box in the front of a classroom full of people still learning morals. Stopped giving kickback for walk-in sales. I work at a hotel and the high management had the bright idea not to give us anything for charging walk-ins, late checkouts, early check-ins and upgrades. So now we give them for free whenever we can. Our process integrity people decided every international order over $100,000 needed to be approved by a manager at the purchase requisition stage before the sales order could be processed. The problem? Purchase requisitions only generated after the sales order was completed. This meant it was impossible to complete any international order worth more than $100,000, and they launched this policy unannounced 2 days before Christmas. I ended up staying in the office until 9 at night trying to get our data people to create a way for me to order $300,000 in parts from Sweden before the holidays. In Germany, you need a paper from your doctor when you are sick at least 3 days. They enforced that you needed one even if you just are away for one day. So everyone had to go to the doctor if not feeling right, and of course we were away for weeks. A big shipping company I worked at for a couple months said we would be working 7 AM to 4 PM. They didn't tell all the new employees, including myself, that holiday hours were going to be 7 AM to whenever the duck we feel like telling you to go home. Around 10 to 11 PM. Naturally, people would get in 5 to 7 hours of work and go on break, then just not come back. That led to we can no longer allow lunch breaks. Me and roughly 50-70 other workers quit on the spot. When I was in 8th grade, my school implemented a new iPad program. We were recognized as an Apple certified school or some bullshit like that. The problem was that students were just using them to play games. Administration didn't have any way to crack down on it, and teachers had no clue how to implement it into the classroom. We constantly played 2048 in class, since it was impossible for them to block all the different iterations for it. And when they made it an instant demerit to be found playing it, even in lunch and homeroom, we just switched over to browser Tetris. It was so bad that one kid who sat right next to me didn't even try to focus on school. He would spend the entire period playing on his iPad, then constantly complained that he kept scoring 50s and 60s on his tests. At an industrial site I used to work for, they introduced an absolutely no overtime policy. The people that most commonly worked overtime were the maintenance guys. They had to cut out their preventative maintenance in order to make their hours while being available for all shifts. It took 3 months of daily breakdowns before they decided to try something else. My middle school tried to prohibit students from bringing backpacks into class. You could bring a purse, bag, etc. However, just not a backpack. They wanted students to either stop by their locker before every class period, impossible without being late, or carry a large stack of heavy textbooks around all day. Due to the latter reason, the rule got cancelled within a week. This was in 1998-99. So I'm not sure what they were trying to achieve with this rule. One job I had an nails should only be in neutral colors rule. Every rule was enforced rather strictly except for this one, because per the words of a manager, every woman would get written up. My high school banned girls from wearing any shirt that exposed their bra straps because seeing a bra strap would give high school boys evil thoughts. Most of the girls in school responded by wearing the same shirts they'd always worn, without bras. As a teenage boy, it was a happy couple weeks. The school tried to then mandate that all female students wear bras, until a male teacher asked a 15-year-old if she was wearing appropriate undergarments or not. She called him a pervert. Her parents, who thought the whole dress code things was as stupid as most of the students, threatened a sexual harassment suit against the school. Everybody in charge panicked and it all went back to the way it was before they tried to change anything. No N-words in the Huckfin. Our high school teacher made us buy the censored version for his class, and numerous parents complained about the censorship as well as the added cost. Since our school library had sets of the original we could have read for free. A nursing home in our area thought it would be a great idea to bring back the traditional white nursing caps. They made it mandatory for all female nurses to wear during their shifts or be written up, and eventually pointing yourself out. Male nurses were not included. About half of the staff quit within the first 2 weeks. Several started working at my facility. The others at state said that the residents and families of resident laughed and made fun of the nurses constantly. Pretty degrading and sexist comments. Basically, about 3 months after this all went down, someone from corporate came in and fired all the directors who implemented the uniform change, and everything went back to normal. Several nurses stayed with my company, but a few went back when the rules changed. It's in place this year, but I'm assuming it's gonna backfire shortly. My high school banned backpacks and phones this year, and took away advisory, which was pretty much a free period for clubs to meet. Thank God I graduated last year and don't have to deal with this bullshit. But I'm sure it's not going to go very well. As a part-time employee at Walmart, I was told that I'd need 3 weeks in advance to change anything about my schedule. I was going back to school for the summer pretty abruptly, and told my managers that I'd need Tuesdays and Wednesdays removed from my schedule for the next 2 weeks. Immediately. So that I could go to school. They told me no. So I went in the day before class and just quit. No 2-week notice from me. I was pretty clear that I was going to go to school regardless of whether they'd fix my schedule. And I wasn't about to get fired for not showing up for half of my shifts. College removed chairs in cafeteria so people wouldn't hang around. Now people just don't eat at the cafeteria. It's a ghost hall and most of the food is thrown away daily. Really sad. God forbid anyone socialize in a building of the college they are paying for while eating food they are also paying for. In an attempt to make school more enjoyable, I guess, they put a jukebox in the cafeteria. This was in 2001. So there was a bunch of generic pop songs in it and like a handful of classic rock songs. My school was full of rednecks and they wanted country music. So the only song that ever got played was That Smell by Skynet. For a week everyone eating lunch got to hear that song like 5-7 times. I say a week because that was how long it took before some stoner tweaker got fed up and cut the power cord. My school forced us to memorize things instead of understanding them. This has been detrimental to me since work life is all about understanding complex issues. I'm still fairly new to mastering the concept of truly understanding an idea. When I was in school, I was part of a board game club that just wasn't very good. We never won a competition and it led to a lot of negative vibes among the students. Anyway, they just decided to ban board games in general. Anyone got caught playing would be put into detention. A few weeks go by and I'm asked to go to the storeroom. And guess what I found? A stash of all the old board games. You bet I shoved a chessboard up my ass.